is the third episode of the Whoacast. I'm Joe Mizzi. Thanks for listening. For those of you who follow me and have been watching me do my little weight loss thing, it looks like I'm down a couple pounds. I'm excited about it, but there's a long way to go till I get to 170 again. I did about 18 miles on the bike today. I'm really enjoying the bike riding. But thanks to everyone who's been supporting me out there. It really does mean a lot when you're trying to go, through something that's pretty challenging personally, but also important. A couple of things to talk about before we get into this. There's this whole surveillance program thing that we're all hearing about right now, and I'm finding it funny sometimes when I hear people that are shocked that the government was doing this. I don't think I'm shocked at all. I think that the scale of it is way more massive than I originally thought. But I think that, all things considered, we know shady things go on in the government. I think it's just that the scale of this is something more akin to what you would expect from China. They weren't just collecting data on people they thought were terrorists. They've been collecting data on everybody. I mean, it's amazing how much data, and I'm an IT guy. I can't imagine how they're finding useful data if they're collecting this much of it. I mean, who's the guy or the girl, God forbid, that has to sift through all the dick pics out there? I mean, somebody's doing it, and who's monitoring chat roulette? Come on. I mean, it's just ridiculous, And then there's are they collecting comments, from CNN, all the racist and homophobic nonsense people post all over there? I mean, how is any of this useful? I just don't get it. And, that brings me to my second point, the whole comment thing. I mean, why do people do that? Why do people get mad at the most inane things? A couple of days ago, I took an extra second at a green light, and a guy went all road ragey on me. And I've had a few times this happen over really, really stupid stuff. And the worst is, like, when people will get mad at you just because they're being assholes on the road, and you're the one who's in a difficult situation. They have no interest in helping you out, like merging traffic. We had that happen in New York City when we were on tour. Like, this guy just would not let us in. We're in a car with a trailer attached. This guy could have easily let us in, and he just had no interest in doing it. Just none. And like, it baffles me that people get mad. Like, they will get angry because you're just trying to get by. And it's like, this explains how we end up at war. I mean, the fact that people can get this mad about stuff, it just amazes me. Anyway, so I've got Justin from Underground Communiqué Records on today. I met Justin a while back. He runs a record label, and I was just getting Whoa Records back off the ground, and I was doing vinyl for the first time, so he was kind enough to point me in the right direction to get things going. You'll hear us talk today about what it's like to run a totally independent one-man record label. It's a different world these days, and it's all still changing very rapidly. I'm sure a lot of you listen on Spotify to music, and just to be clear, I've got nothing wrong with that at all. I use Spotify from time to time myself, but if you were sitting in my chair, Justin's chair, when we tally up what a band makes, you would understand why you hear musicians gripe about it. According to TuneCore, the average royalty paid per stream is 8/100ths of 1 penny. Let that sink in for a second. 8/100ths of 1 penny is what's paid to the artist when you stream a song on Spotify. Let's work through some math here. On iTunes, if you purchase a song for 99 cents, the label and or artist get 70 cents from that sale. If you sell a song on Bandcamp, Bandcamp takes about 15%. So let's say you sell that for 99 cents, you get back about 84 cents. So to match a single song sale on iTunes, a song needs to be streamed on Spotify 875 times. To match a single song sale on Bandcamp, a song needs to stream 1,050 times. So let's put that into perspective. That means for an individual listener to match the same amount of money paid to the label or artist, they would need to spend, assuming about 3 minutes per song, about 40 to 50 hours listening to that song. 40 to 50 hours. Now, could that happen over someone's life? Maybe. That's a lot of times to listen to the same song. I'm sure it happens with, big hits, or people's favorite personal songs. But instead of paying it up front, you're going to be paying that over your entire life under the whole subscription model that this seems to be moving towards. So this really changes the game for everybody. Artists and labels, used to try to recoup album expenses typically within the first 6 months to a year of putting out a record. That was the life cycle for marketing and distributing and selling the bulk of an album's sales. That model is going away. So, the IT guy in me loves this thing. The IT guy in me loves things like Spotify, but the musician in me is struggling with how to adapt to all of this. And the label guy in me, because all of the bands, unfortunately, have to deal with this going forward. And things are still changing rapidly. So there's going to be even, more new models and new apps out there that we're going to have to deal with. That said, a bunch of our stuff is on Spotify. You can also buy our stuff on iTunes. You can buy it at our own store. If you buy physical copies at our own store, you get the digital copy with it. You can even get, lossless audio, which is something that I'm really big on, and I really wish the rest of the industry would move in this direction. I mean, you're paying money essentially for a compressed audio file at any of the major stores, other than probably Bandcamp is the biggest store for lossless audio that's out there right now. The audio file in me always tells people you should get the lossless audio. It's at least CD quality, if not better in some cases, because now when we record music, oftentimes we actually record it at a higher quality bit rate and frequency than you get on a CD. But anyway, go to, Justin's store. He's got undercom.org. You can also go to undercom.bandcamp.com and check out his catalog of bands. And he's got some great records. He put out the new, version of Not Economically Viable recently by the Methadones. It's an awesome record. I love the new version of that. A lot like he does, short run releases. They're typically, 500 copies, let's say, and they're high cost per unit. If you're doing vinyl, it's like $5 a record. That doesn't include promotional costs, distribution, any of the other costs that come along with putting out a record. And because of the nature of what we do, we try and keep the cost of the albums low. We don't sell them for $30. We sell them for, you'll find stuff between $3 and $15 for a record. It's a lot less than most of the big labels out there are doing, and even some of the big indies do. That means, though, that there's not a lot of money to be made on these releases. There's not a lot of copies, and they cost a lot to make, and we don't sell them for that much. Really, it's to get the music out there to people for bands that we love. And that we believe in. So go check out his label. He's got a lot of great stuff on there. Also, Detroiters out there, go get your tickets for Whoapocalypse. The show is less than a month away now. PT's Revenge, Wrist Rocket, The Miserables, Cruise Italy, Due North, and Bottle Kids. It's July 13th. It's $10 in advance, $15 at the door. So save yourself the $5 and get them in advance. The link will be, on the Whoacast page. It's whoacast.com. Just go there. It's really easy to make a purchase. And as I am sitting here, Natasha, our video director, is telling me that I'm going to get to see the first cut of the Bottoms Up video tonight. How fucking awesome is that? When the video's ready, I'll be sending that off to a bunch of online channels. I'm hoping Blank TV will pick this one up like they did the 94 video. And we'll also release Bottoms Up as a single as well. And I'm actually sitting here wondering if we have time, maybe we can get a B-side together to put out with Bottoms Up. We've got some new songs in the works. I think we might be able to make it happen, but no promises on that one. We're tidying up the final album artwork as well. As soon as that gets done, it'll be sent off to pressing, and then we'll start setting release dates and all that kind of stuff. All right, so let's get into this discussion with Justin. What got you started in the whole punk rock scene? Obviously, what came about before Underground Communiqué?
Well, before Underground Communiqué, before the label started, there was another label, and I've talked about this a little bit in other interviews and stuff. But there was a label called Government Music that was a label that I did with a friend for like a year and a half, and we put out like 4 records. But what ties the Underground Communiqué and Government Music together is I did a radio show, and the radio show was on WLUW, which is like a Loyola's like college radio station. And my friend Justin, who did the show with me, so there was 2 Justins to make it even more confusing. He started the show, and then I was just like this kid from Indiana who would just come up to shows and not talk to anybody, and I was just like the weird, quiet kid, and I would just come.
Where were you from in Indiana?
From Griffith, Indiana, which is right outside Gary, so it's not like podunk, middle of nowhere, but it's far enough, so I would just come up to shows, and then Justin, who worked at the Clubhouse record store, which used to be next door to the Metro, which I don't know if you were ever around for that.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's like where the Metro's ticket office is now. It used to be a record store.
Got it.
And Justin worked there, and he sort of like befriended me, and well, actually the whole staff at the Clubhouse just sort of took me under their wing, like oh, you're a nice kid from Indiana, you're a sweet kid, and so Justin eventually was like, hey, if you come up here from Indiana, like I do this radio show on Friday nights, like come hang out. And so I started coming up with like every Friday or so, and then I ended up like just coming and hanging out, doing the show with them, just becoming like the sidekick. And then eventually Justin stopped coming to the show, and I kept coming to the radio show, and so he sort of like pawned it off on me, so then I just kept doing the show, and I just never stopped. And like, even though I never went to Loyola, like I had no real right to be there, but like they just were like, you're just doing this. So the show was originally called Government Music, and then eventually I got a little bitter, a little just sort of like, I want this to be my own thing, so I changed the name to Underground Communiqué. In the meantime, of like after the label sort of dissolved, partly because me and Justin weren't getting along, partly because he wasn't around, partly because I got laid off my job. Like a lot of things went into it. It wasn't just one, like it was no like fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
So that it sort of dissolved, and I knew that like doing the label for like the year and a half of doing Government Music, even though it was like wildly unsuccessful, like I kind of felt that like I sort of found my calling finally, like after years of just being like a person who went to shows, like helped out here and there, like at, moving gear, just taking money at the door, like like I finally found something. I was like, oh, I like this. This is something I enjoy doing, and so I knew that I wanted to do another label eventually, and so I just planned the name of the new radio show name to be like, because I wanted to be like, I liked how the government, like the label and the radio show sort of like were like this whole thing. It was one it was two parts of the same thing. And so I just wanted to keep the radio show, because I intended to keep doing the radio show for a while. So I wanted to be like, oh, there's Underground Communiqué Radio and there's Underground Communiqué Records, and so I picked a name that was.
That sounds oddly familiar.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. So I just kind of I like that idea, and I like that that it could be, both things could sort of like feed each other, like, because when I was doing the radio show, like we had bands come play live on the show, and it was just like it became like a weekly schedule, like a regimen of like, we're gonna have, these two bands are gonna be in town, like this band wants to play, like, and so it just became like this like juggernaut, like it just couldn't be stopped. It was just like, like we were stopped on for like some friends' bands we'd made over the years of like, oh, they're in Chicago, they're playing Chicago on Friday for a reason, so they can come do the radio show, so they can do another set on the radio, and I just made friends, and it just sort of like, like this dude played drums in that band, and now they're in town and they want to play, and it just became a thing, and eventually the label, or I quit doing the radio show because I just didn't have time for it anymore, and so but I like handed that off to friends, and I was like, deal with it what you can, because I just can't be here anymore. And then just continue with the label. Even the label wasn't that busy, but it was just like life, and I was tired of missing shows on Friday nights, and a lot of things that went into it. But
so when was this?
That was probably it was around 2005, 2006, somewhere in there. I think it was 2000. It was September 2005, because I had started doing. So it was like almost like 6 years of doing the radio show every week. I think I missed, in like those 6 years, maybe missed like 10 Fridays I wasn't there. So it was just like a constant thing. And so so it was that long.
And then did you booked all the bands that came out of the show and everything?
A lot of time. I mean, like there were some that were just, like, hey, this band's gonna be in town, can they play? It was like, yeah, sure. And sometimes like Chris, who I did the radio show with, who did sound for us, he would book bands like. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't 100% me, but there was a lot, and it was just like I was just sort of like friends with everybody. So people would just call me and ask me. So, but yeah, I mean, like initially, like the only reason we really had bands play was, it's funny now, because Pete Wentz was in this hardcore band called Arma Angelus, and he really wanted to be like. He was, I mean, Fall Out Boy is huge for a reason, because those dudes are driven to the point of like insanity, of like succeeding. And Pete was like, I want my band to play on the radio show. And I was like, we don't know how to do that. Like we can't, I don't know. I don't have microphones. He's like, we'll figure it out. He's like, we're just going to show up one night and we're going to figure it out. So like one night he showed up with his entire band, and they spent like 2 hours. They brought like a PA to set up in this room, and like they mic'd it, and we started having bands basically on that model of how he started doing things. And I want to say that first night was Arma Angelus and maybe the Killing Tree. I can't remember when the Killing Tree played, but I can't remember when it was. But and so Pete was like, he's like, this is how we figure out how to do it. He figured out how to like, stretch microphones from one room to another, and that's how we made it happen. And so that was the start of it. And so we sort of figured out how to do it. And then the guy that did the show after ours, he was a sound engineer, so he was like, oh, I see how they did this. I can come and do sound. And so he would just show up early, and then he was already our friend, but so he would just show up early, mic the room, and then like with the 4 mic inputs we had, so it was like one lead vocal and then maybe mics on the rest of it. And so we just started having bands play, and a lot of times I'm sure it sounded like shit, but bands were like stoked to come and play, and that's what more can you ask for? It's like people coming downtown Chicago to find this radio station and play. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out what the model is if people want to play a song on here, like what I'm going to do about that whole thing. I mean, we have decent microphones, but I'm not an engineer.
Yeah, for sure.
I got to get Adam over here and be like, like Danny was by. I was like, oh, it'd be great if I could get him to play a song, but I was like, I'm not putting him through me trying to make it sound all right.
Yeah. It's a fine line, and I'm not a sound engineer, so I was always just like, luckily, like there were people around that knew how to do it, and there was a couple times I think we eventually I bought microphones and stands and stuff, and we eventually started trying to do it on our own, but it never really totally worked as well as when we had an actual sound guy there. It was we just by chance, total dumb luck, had friends that were like sound engineers. They're like, oh yeah, I'll come and do this, and so that's just sort of how it happened.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I actually didn't realize that the radio show came before the record label.
Yeah,
which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it was like.
And did you tie the record label? So you tied the record label kind of into the radio show. Was it like, you would put out records by bands that came on, or was it just mostly something separate?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, like definitely, like there were definitely bands that like the relationship started with they came to the radio show, either just like they came to like DJ in the show, or they came to actually play, or I became friends with them because someone was like, oh, this guy does a radio show, and like how that all just starts to happen, and so I mean definitely there were bands that we did records for because at least the relationship started there, but I mean I'm sure there's got to be something that basically happened because of it. I'm just sort of like drawing a blank in the amount of time, the 15 years that have gone by that I'm just now realizing. I mean, it's like, I mean, it wasn't like an intentional, like, I'm gonna draw talent from this, doing this thing. It was just like, oh, like these people have these people have a record, and no one seems to want to put it out. Like, and it more or less just came out of like where like picking records from was just like friends that were like that bands I looked up to that I just was like, this is great, like just like what we still do, like
So when did you do the first Underground release?
The first record that came out was December 26th of 2003. Yeah. And that, like, what it was like the first release technically was, and going by numbers is the second Mexican Cheerleader record. The first one was on Government Music. It was a co-release with He Who Corrupts Records. But the first technical release that came out was the Haunted Life CD, which I made like a tour edition of their CD because I went with them on a tour to Florida to a festival and then back. So the first one actually came out. The second release came out first. So it was December 2003. And there was like a few months leading up to that, to when like the whole thing started happening. Like it's not just like overnight. Hey, it takes a few months of talking to people and stuff like that.
Yeah. So like when I first did the label, it was and I don't know how much you know the story about what we did, but ours grew out of like the little punk club that we had in Detroit, right? Okay. Or not even in Detroit, in the Western Burbs. We had this little punk club called Pharaohs that we would all play at, right? And it was just owned by this dude that like, all the kids would go in there and they would let you smoke in there and like all that kind of stuff. But, it was a bummer when it got shut down because it was actually a good place for kids to go. And like, he wouldn't deal with like, if you were doing something other than smoking a cigarette in there, he wasn't going to let you get away with it kind of thing. So, but me and my buddies from high school started hanging out there. A couple of them started playing in bands, and then there's this great picture that somebody posted online of me and my buddy Novak. Like, the first thing we ever did towards like doing the record label was we did cassette tapes for our buddies PT's Revenge.
Okay.
And so we actually like made them ourselves. It was all like 100% DIY. And this is back when I had like a dot matrix printer still too and everything, like not even an inkjet. So like the getting the like inserts was all kinds of crazy, like to get them right. And I think I had to like do the actual stickers at my dad's work or something like that.
Yeah.
And so we made like a bunch of these things, right? And they actually did pretty well. And we ended up helping them do one or two very, very DIY burn it yourself type CD releases, and our measurement of success was pretty low at that point because it was like,
it has to be.
Do we have enough for a couple slices of pizza after the show's over? All right, we did okay tonight, right?
Exactly.
But that's where the whole thing started, and then it just started going from there. Probably fairly similarly, you had buddies that were in good bands and that you knew, and you end up putting out the record.
Yeah.
And then, what ended it for me the first time around, which is interesting, it's right before you started Underground then. This is like 2002. Like, 3 of the bands I was working with broke up.
Yeah.
Like right when releases were coming out. And then I got offered to do the Common Rider thing, and I was just like, all right, I'm out of the label business for a while, guys. I'm totally broke, and I'm about to be more broke.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's staggering the first time that happens, where at the pressing plant, in the midst of pressing, like, you start getting those like wobbly emails from bands, and they're like, oh, I don't know if you know this. Like, when emails start that way, you're like, oh, no.
Yep.
No, this isn't going to go well at all. Those are the ones that...
And you've already got your deposit paid.
Oh yeah. I mean, the covers
the train is moving, dude.
Yeah. I mean, it's... Oh, yeah. Those are the times when I question why I do this to myself.
Yep.
I think that more than anything else, like when it gets like weird with bands like in the midst of the pressing, it's like, why? But yeah, no, I hear you. So
you've had since 2003 then. So you're looking at 10 years now. So you've weathered the storms, and you've weathered some changes in how things work, right?
Yeah.
So like, in 2003, just thinking back that far, you're not doing digital at all. No. There's no digital involved. So you're just probably doing mostly CDs, and then you were starting to do vinyl, or?
Yeah, I initially, I always wanted to do vinyl, like, more than CDs, because I just hadn't done one yet. Like, Government Music only put out 4 CDs. So I definitely, I wanted to do vinyl. I just didn't know how to do it, basically. I had to have someone like sit me down and be like, okay, here's the process. And so luckily, Scott, who ran Harmless Records, he was one of my best friends, and he was always very forthcoming with information on how to do stuff. And like even when I was doing Government Music, he was kind of like, here you go, little bird, like, fly, like, this is how you do it. And so Scott was very helpful, and he kind of just, like, one night, like, I just went over to his place, and we just, like, sat down, and he was like, every step of the way, like, this is how you do it, this is who I go to, you don't have to use them, but just call some people, like, just start doing it and try it, and then, like, you'll eventually sort out your own way to do it. So Scott was very helpful, and so it took me a few months, but eventually I just started doing vinyl releases. And this was like, we're just going to do it. We're going to figure it out. And if it's terrible, whatever. So that's basically how it worked out. Like, initially CDs, certainly no digital. Vinyl, like, there was, like, download cards were like, if you could find a place to get them, it would be like $1 or $2 a piece. And you're like, I can't sell the 7-inch has to be $3. Like, you can't sell it for more than $3.
Yeah.
Like, even though it costs probably that much money to
Yeah,
make.
exactly.
So it was primarily CDs for the first out of the first 10 releases. There's 8 of them were CDs. So, and then it was like quickly it dropped off. That was like, I want to do records, and then it was just like as slowly the CDs just drifted away.
Yeah, well, and probably at that time that was right when, I would say maybe what was it 2000? Was it 2005 or 2006? The first iPod came out.
Yeah, probably.
And that was definitely when at least I wasn't in it at that point, so I didn't understand the implications for a record label yet of what that meant. But I knew I had an iPod like right when it first came out, and I you could immediately feel that there was a drastic impact on everything going on when this came out, right? And especially, I think what I've learned is in the DIY scene, it's a very big impact, like a pretty huge impact to say the least, because, when I was doing this in what, like 1997 to 2001 and 2, the only way you got the music was if you got that cassette tape or you got that CD. Yeah. That was it.
Yeah.
Right? You had no other access if you wanted to listen to the music. And then once, Napster and the internet picked up a little bit, I don't feel like it really affected DIY that much because there still wasn't a great distribution mechanism for all of the music yet. Napster was okay, but it wasn't like... Yeah, if you were a fan of music, you still weren't going to go get you're probably still going to buy the CD, and then you were going to be the guy who burned it and tried to put it on Napster, probably.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
then when the iPod came out and suddenly you had the mobile device that you could go play this stuff on, then it seems like it all just kind of spread like wildfire from there.
It exploded because because like if you think back to those first generation of iPods, like how small in capacity they were in comparison to like what it is now, like my phone can carry more songs than that first iPod.
I think my first one was like 1 or 2 gigabytes or something like that.
It's ridiculous.
And now it's 120 for the biggest one.
Yeah, it's insane. It was definitely that, and it changed everything. Yeah. And I mean, I think even before then, like it was still. I think the music industry was like in that weird slump anyway. Because I remember when I was doing government music records, in the midst of that era, my label, and then like 8 other Chicago labels, we started like a little distribution company called Redline Distribution.
I remember this.
And I remember Dan Sinker from Punk Planet. He was talking to somebody that was in the collective, and he was fascinated by this whole idea because he's like, we need to do an interview with you guys because you started a record label or a distribution company at the worst possible time ever. He's like, this isn't like, and I'm probably paraphrasing and getting it wrong, but like that idea has always stuck with me of like, yeah, that was kind of a bad idea.
Yeah.
And So I think leading up to 99 to like 2001, like that was that golden era of like the slump of the music industry anyway. And then it was like the iPod came in, it was just like crush.
Yeah.
It was like there was like the death knell. Like it was like, yes, we're gonna make a lot of money at the beginning. It's gonna explode, and it's gonna be like one of those explosions that explodes out and then comes in and shrinks in.
Yep.
So
and just the economics of it changed so much is what I see. Like I look at the numbers now, and I mean, we have 5 or 6 releases that are live on Spotify and iTunes and all that stuff. And I've even watched over just the last 2.5 years, I've watched iTunes sales drop and Spotify streams go way up.
Yeah.
But Spotify streams pay
nothing. Yeah.
Nothing. Absolutely. It's almost like insulting.
Oh no, there's no almost.
And like you don't want to go to a band and explain to them like, no, this is really like they paid you like $2 for like 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, and it costs, by the way, $50 to keep it up there for the year. I mean, it just amazes me the economics of the entire model right now. So, you know, obviously you do a lot of physical. Right?
Yeah,
physical.
Yeah.
And
I primarily, I mean, I have like a digital distributor, so I do digital stuff. But I just sort of like don't count on that at all.
You can't, right?
Yeah, you can't because
you can't.
Yeah, I mean, I get like some checks are nothing. Like I mean, I try to keep up on doing royalties and stuff, and it's like, and sometimes like the royalties are so low for some of the records, and then. Like that they go to help pay off the pressing, but it's like I don't even tell bands sometimes because it's just like it's insulting.
Yeah,
Because I mean I definitely like I have such high regard for musicians on the label that like I really respect them a lot, and like and it's crushing to like be like. Sorry, Dan.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to tell you how much the Methadones made. Like, it's just it's insulting to me just because like those, like I put those records out for a reason. I love those songs and but the Spotify is evil to the music industry. Like.
But there's no going back now. Oh no, right?
No.
So it's there, and you got to live in that market because now I think Apple announced the other day that they're starting their iTunes Radio or whatever that's going to be the competitor for Spotify. So and they negotiated lower royalties than Spotify with the major labels. So
this is why I don't keep up with stuff like that
because it just depresses you when you hear about
exactly.
it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Yeah, you can't. There's no going back. It's like every now and then, like I'll be looking around the internet and like I'll admit I download some music illegally, but I mean I don't pay for everything I buy. I mean I have a fucking crazy huge record collection, but I still do like search around for stuff and like every now and then I'll come across one of my own releases, or if I'm really bored that night, I'll just like, let's see how many blogs have this record up. And like, there's been a couple instances where I found like blogs that have my releases, and like some of like I found one that had the Explode Makeup record, and they just had like a link to like buy it too. And so I like sent them a message. I was like, hey, that's really awesome that you put a link to my store. Like you didn't have to. That's really cool. Like I'm not going to tell you to take this down because I don't really care. Yeah. Because I'd rather someone downloaded it and heard it, and then than they actually worry about the $5 for the record. And the guy wrote back and he was like kind of like startled that I was like not being like take this down immediately because so we had a couple of emails back and forth, and it was just like I'm like, why am I going to tell you to stop? Like it doesn't matter. Like if it's not you, it's somebody else. Like someone might buy the record now. Who knows? But, and I feel that Spotify and things like that are a similar ilk of like it's there. I can't stop it. Why even get worked up over it?
Yeah.
Like I mean,
and if you want exposure for the music, you almost have to be there. You really don't have much of a choice now.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the number of Spotify accounts is just like skyrocketing.
It's gigantic,
right now.
And I wish there was a better profit margin in it, but.
I remember somebody, I can't remember who it was. Somebody was trying to start like a indie competitor to Spotify that was going to try and pay more royalties, which of course sounds like an economic nightmare because there's probably no way you can collect enough money.
Oh there isn't. I mean, the model of it is insane. I mean, it's kind of like because we're working at the radio station years ago. Like we would have like one weekend or 1 week or something for that year that we had to like keep a log for the radio station to publish with somebody, or like the music industry. Like I think it was like the publishing companies where like they would pay royalties on all of the radio stations that reported songs that week or something like that. And that's how like bands would get paid royalties for like indie radio stations
Yep.
or something. And I was just like, well, this is insane. Like like this is how it works. Like, who's paying this? I don't get it. Like,
Yeah.
I think the station had to pay that like some criminally small amount per song and somehow filtered to the artist. I don't know. I'm probably missing a point in that whole process, but it's just one of those things where it's sad and you just accept it and you shrug your shoulders and go, well, what are you gonna do? That's what the world is now. Like,
Yep.
please buy a record. They're in my basement.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and then I mean it's changed things, I think, also because live performing has become so much more important.
Yeah.
And then also I keep hearing this all the time whenever I talk to somebody, they're like, trying to, of course, give you the ideas of how to make money. It's all merchandising, dude, is what they're telling you to do, right?
Merchandising.
Exactly. It's like Spaceballs, dude.
Yeah.
It's totally what it's like.
Well, that's why if you look in my store,
dude, you guys need thongs with your logo on, like stuff like that. And I'm just like, dude.
Yeah,
that's an idea I would have had when I was like 16. Like,
yeah, and then you never would have actually followed through with
exactly.
it. Exactly. Like, this costs like $4 a piece.
Exactly.
Well, no one's gonna buy this. But if you look at my store, the Explode Makeup shirt, I think at least it was when I initially put it in, but it's Explode Makeup, the T-shirt, because it's like a Spaceballs reference. But it's hilarious to like. You could so easily get caught up in that world of like, I'm gonna make bottle openers.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make koozies.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like
especially now because online you can order any of that stuff, dude.
Yeah.
I was just getting business cards made for the podcast because I want to have something that's got my phone number and email address on it when I talk to people about doing it, and I can write on the back when they're gonna come in. And I go through Vistaprint, right? Yeah. Because it's cheap as could be.
Yeah.
But as I'm checking out, it's like, put your logo on a mug. Put your logo on a pen. Do you need some magnets? And you got to go through like 3 pages of them asking you to make all this other crap with
purchases.
Yeah, exactly. And I almost got suckered into it, dude. I was looking, I was like, those pens look kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm like, I totally would want a pen.
But then I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, they're like $4 a piece. I was like, I can buy for $4 like 100 pens.
Yeah.
Like, go on Amazon and just order them.
Oh, yeah. Every now and then, like, I'll spend like a night where I'll go through and I'll find one of those sites that like put your name on whatever you want sites, and I'll just like look and it's like I can never like come to like go through with the order because it's like you have to buy in such large quantities to actually be like in your head justify the amount of money
exactly.
that you're like, I can maybe sell. Okay, if I get 1,000 of these, I could sell. And you're like,
I know that feeling.
These will be in my basement for 8 years. I'll eventually throw them away because I'll be sick of looking at them. Don't do this, Justin. Just don't.
The best when
money.
you're like, if I can just sell 3/4 of them, I'll break even.
Yeah,
I'll be good.
Yeah, and that's worked out so well because I have 50 record releases in my basement that didn't work out that way.
Oh, I know that feeling, dude.
So,
and that's so hard too. Like, I was thinking about that. We're like the new band. We're probably gonna do a split with a buddy of mine's band out in California, and I was talking to him about it. I had to explain to him, like, look, we're just doing this one for ourselves. Like, we need to understand this is going to make no money whatsoever. We're both brand new bands.
Yeah.
Nobody knows who we are.
Yeah.
Like, if we're doing this, it's purely for, like, vanity's sake.
Yeah,
just to have this release. So I'm like, I'm not getting in the trap of, like, oh, dude, but it'll only be $3.50 a piece if I get another 100. I started doing the math on it, and I was like, no, I'm stopping right here. We're ordering the minimum order. Like, no matter how much it costs per record, we are getting the minimum order. Because as you know then too, if we want to reorder, fine, we can always do it down the road and save a few bucks.
Like the hard part's over.
The hard part is over, but you got to pay for the plates and all that stuff, and that's just the nature of the beast, dude. But at first, it's like if nobody's done vinyl, they're like, well, what if we order 1,000 of them? How much are they then? And
and it's like, oh, 1,000, they're really cheap. And then you're like, wait a minute, I'm spending twice as much
exactly.
and they will sit around for twice as long.
Exactly. I was like, if I've got them and we've only got that many of them, it's like, I'll just, especially for something like this, it's like, I'll give them away, dude. I mean, it's not like we're going to be in this release to like turn a profit on it or something like that.
Well, it is a 7-inch.
Yeah, you're not making. I had to tell that to a band I worked with, just 2 bands I worked with just recently. They did a 7-inch, and they were asking me like, what's the margin like? And I'm like, dude, there isn't one. I'm not sure how to explain this to you, but if I buy 500 of these, I cannot sell them for really any more than I'm going to get them pressed for. Yeah. Like at the end of the day, that's what it's going to cost.
Yeah.
And I did it because I love those guys and I love their bands, but I was just like, I that's all I can tell you is like, I'll do it because I want to do do it, but for some reason I want to make myself feel that pain of the pocketbook, but
I just tell bands, I'm like, until we're selling over 1,000 copies or something,
nobody's making any money. And then even if you're selling 1,000, nobody's really making a significant amount.
Yeah,
of
you're
money.
not making. Yeah, we're not. No one's. Yeah, no one. I'm not running off to Key West, Florida to go, on a vacation. It's like. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've known dudes and you've probably known dudes who have been in like big label contracts, and like the economics of that model is completely different because then it's like, now I don't know now, I guess I should say, I don't know anybody on a major label now, but we're talking like 10 years ago when I knew dudes that were, it's like, if you weren't selling 250,000 copies of a record, you weren't walking away with any more money than your advance, and you were typically still owing the label money by the time the release was over with at that point. That's staggering to think about.
Yeah, well, and the thing that I have trouble with, that I've had trouble with in the past is the people that like were in bands in that era, and they think that that's still how it works, and it's like, well, yeah, maybe, but it doesn't work that way anymore. And it's like, you can come over to my house and we can count the records. Like, I didn't make any more. Like, they're all like, they're here, and like they'll go away slowly, but like
takes a lot of time.
Yeah, but I'm like, it's not 1994 anymore. Like, I'm not gonna it's not like pressing records isn't pressing money. It's like making your own money anymore. Like it's a slow process that that it has to be a labor of love. Yep. Or else you're doing it wrong.
Exactly.
So, and so like the only sticking points are like the bands have to understand that.
Yep.
It's like, I'm in this because I like you. Like I'm in the best possible end of the scenario, we might make some money.
Yeah.
But chances are, I'm just gonna do a lot of work.
Yep.
And and no one's gonna make any money.
Yeah.
Like, I'm probably not gonna make my money back.
Yeah.
And like, you need to understand that. Like, and like, I've had those conversations with bands, and they kind of like look at you like lost dogs. Like, oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Well, and because every band goes into it, and I'm fortunate enough because I've done the label thing to. Well, I shouldn't say that. Once in a while, I'll have those expectations about my own shit, but it's like bands walk into it, and because you have such a passion for what you created, you're like, well, why wouldn't somebody buy 1,000 copies of this thing?
You're like, yeah, that's why I wanted to put it out. Like, that's the thing. Like doing a label it's so much of a heartbreaking experience just over and over and over again, because like of course, like I want 1 million people to hear this band. Like I'm not spending time with my girlfriend. Like, I'm in my basement or in this like dank office, like typing away emails to people at 1 a.m. Because I haven't mailed their record out yet and they're angry at me. It's like it's like stuff like that where like and like, even though it's like annoying to do stuff like that, like it's like that's the path you've chosen. And like of course like you want to be like so backed up on mail orders because people are finally getting it.
Yep.
You know, and because otherwise like you wouldn't do the record. You wouldn't put out the record if you don't think that somewhere there's a chance. Like you have that optimism in your head that's like totally irrational and like there's a chance this is the one. Like we can make it. And you have to hold on to that. Like doing a label, I have that like wide-eyed, optimistic, naive thing. There's a little bit of that left in me that is like every release is like this could be the one. Like these someone will finally fucking appreciate these guys and what they're doing and so yeah and so I still go into everything with that, even though like every of like the 70 releases it's just like crush your dreams.
Maybe that's the addiction though, right?
It kind of is, yeah.
Maybe in some way that's the addiction.
It's it's I guess it could be definitely rolled into an addiction. This is my pain.
Yeah, it's been interesting, like, because as you well know, and you passed the torch of helping a dude out with figuring out vinyl.
Yeah.
And you helped me along that path, and vinyl is a different animal. It's a totally different animal. It's a lot more expensive. Takes a lot more time to get it done.
Twice the price, half the amount of copies, and then it takes 4 to 5 to 10 times longer. Like. Yeah, I had a record that I just got in. It took 5 months to get pressed.
Holy cow!
From the test pressing approval point.
Wow.
Like I don't know what happened. I think it was just like the plant got put behind on test presses. Or major label, they needed to press 180 gram Supertramp records for $49.99. That are all dollar bin records. I don't know what happened, but it's infuriating. Yeah. Like it's. But like the passing the torch and like the helping thing, like that all just goes back to like when you emailed me to ask for help, like I want to help people because like I had a couple of people that were so supportive when I started and was like gave me all this information, and now that my brain just accumulates useless information. So I'm just like, I have to get this out of my head somehow. So like when someone asks me for advice, I'm like, yes, I will help you. You've come to the right person. And so there's been a handful.
Let me dump this knowledge on how to spend lots and lots of money.
And you'll never see it again. So it's just something that you like. I feel it's like you're almost your duty. You have to like once you're in it, you have to be able to be like, you have to be supportive of the younger kids because, we were like I just forget that I don't forget that I was one of those weird quiet kids who didn't talk to anybody in the beginning, and then I had a couple people that were like, supportive in the right ways and just were like, help me, figure things out and then get involved in things, and so. I just kind of like roll that all into one and like and try to be that person, whatever, if it's either just being nice to some kid at a show, who's, just trying to be helpful, and or if it's somebody that emails me, I was like, hey, I need help with this, it's like you have to. I always thought you had to approach everything in that way. Of like you have to if you know what to do, you have to, because it's like that's the essence of the community, So it's
it's true though. Me and Ian were talking about that just last week or the week before when we did his, and there is still to this day that thread in doing the DIY punk indie scene is that. People are still going to help you out, man. If even though there's nothing in it for anybody right now at all whatsoever, that's totally not the reason people are doing it,
Yeah, so. And I think that's kind of beautiful, like that, that I'm one of those people that just like, wants to give back, and like that's sort of, like that's sort of like the underlying thought behind it is just like that giving back thing. Yeah. So it's like you like I've always like I describe doing the label a lot of like if I could play an instrument, I would be in a band, but I can't, and like I just can't figure it out. Like I don't have the patience to learn, but I figured out I could do this, and I could do this really well, or pretty well, so I can do this pretty well. But if I was in a band, I'd be spending money like on tour. The van broke, like I need a new amp, like it would be like probably about the same amount of money. Like, it'd be one another. I'd be driving all over hell and creation to play a show for $20 if we're lucky, so that's how I always look at it is like, well, if I am kind of addicted to music, so if I would be in a band if otherwise, but I'm not. So I'm spending money on this and there's just something to show for it.
Yeah. So how many releases are you guys on now?
I did an interview with Reed Junk recently, and they asked me that, and I don't know.
You don't catalog number your stuff?
No, I do. We're around 70 that are out.
Okay.
I know I'm cataloged up to 90. So there's a bunch that are just in limbo of plants and planning and all kinds of stages in between.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely there's got to be 70 releases out when all is said and done. And then there's a bunch that are just all like lying in wait, like planning stages.
And what's in the docket?
For several years we've been trying to do a split 7-inch between Get Rad and Sweet Cobra. That was supposed to come out before Matt Arluck passed away, who was Sweet Cobra's guitar player. But they just couldn't get together to record because Matt was sick. So we never got that out. Actually, 3 of the songs that are on the Get Rad record I ended up doing were supposed to be on that 7-inch. But they recorded at the same time. They recorded a whole other 7-inch, and then the songs for the split. So once the Sweet Cobra thing originally got squashed, it was like, hey, well, how about we just do like a one-sided 12-inch? Just use the whole session, and that's how that came about. But so we're finally going to be getting that going. It's I think at the pressing plant, like it's a co-release between Jason from Sweet Cobra's label, which is Hawthorne Street Records, and Lifeline Records, which is my buddy Joe's label. And so that's been in the works forever. And I think Jason said that the test pressings are in for that. But since that one is like it's a co-release and Jason's just handling everything, like I'm so out of the loop on it, I don't even know where it's at. So there's that. I'm going to be doing a 7-inch for. It's also another split release with Lifeline Records, which is another thing that's been in the works for several years. Is the demo from this band called Too Many Voices, who are from New York. It's like the singer from Kill Your Idols' current band, and the band is full of dudes from other bands, but I know there was a lineup change, so I don't want to start quoting ex-member things. But yeah, they're like just like a slightly more of the Jawbreaker influence that Kill Your Idols had, so they're a little more like punk rocky, but still kind of a hardcore band. But yeah, like we're doing their demo is a 7-inch, and then we'll be getting covers in for the Galactic Cannibal record soon, which is my buddy Andy, who is Intention Generation, who I did a record for a few years ago. It's his new band with Nick from Direct Hit, and they're like a Milwaukee, Chicago band, just kind of very similar to like what Tension Generation was, which is not a good description because not a lot of people heard that band, but kind of like Lifetime-y, melodic hardcore, but a little more angry and bitter. But I have the records for that, and then what else is in the planning stage? Eventually, I'm going to be doing. I'm going to do a vinyl release of the Killing Trees' first EP. Which that was the 4th release on Government Music. That's just something that record just stuck with me. So I'm like, I've always like, I want to have that on vinyl for for vanity's sake, even though it'll hopefully sell well because of Tim from Rise Against is in the band, and like Remus from Sweet Cobra was in the band too, and that one I just have to get around to doing it basically. Like I have to stop doing records for current bands, which is like that weird line you have to walk of like doing the things that are clearly not going to sell, but they're active bands, so like they take priority. So I kind of have to find that balance of like let's keep putting out records for the bands that are together and actually trying to do something. So I try to give them priority. Yeah. Well, they always get priority, and just sometimes I
had that conversation recently with someone. It's like, gotta play shows, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I can't do anything if you're not playing shows, dude.
Yeah, I mean, like the records are not going. People are not going to magically find out about your great art if you're not going out there and showing people.
Exactly.
So so that's in the works, and then I think there's all like the ska Kickstarter things that are in the works that have been delayed at the same pressing plant forever. So,
but those are awesome. That's one of my favorite things, Ben, is that stuff is happening and those records are coming back. I mean, I just saw Rancid the other night for only the second time in my life. Okay. All right, and that's one of my favorite bands, dude. And I've got the whole 10 Degrees of Separation with them, with Jesse and the whole thing, and
yeah, you're like 2 degrees away from them.
Yeah, pretty close. And but seeing them live, one of the things that I loved about that era, and this is what I was thinking about while I was at the show, is that there is a lot of like angry dude punk rock out right now, right? And that's probably just a sign of the times, obviously.
Yeah, it is
but that era, like when you watch them, Rancid's such an interesting band because they got everything, right? Oh, yeah. They got angry songs, and then they got like the most upbeat poppy ska song mixed in the middle of the whole set, and it's just like this actual like when I went to Off With Their Heads at Liars Club the other day, it was just like raw like anger and energy like coming out. Then you're at Rancid, and it's just like feel good happy time kind of.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the great thing about Rancid.
Yeah.
Like I know I've seen like Rancid at like Warped Tour. But
that's the only other time that I actually saw him, and that was in like, it had to have been like 98 or late 90s or very early 2000s. Yeah. It is the only other time I actually saw them live.
And it's one of those things, like I know I walked up, I remember when I saw them play at Warped Tour, I like walked up, it was like daylight, and it was like, it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Like you want to be in like a small dark club seeing Rancid.
And
I walked up, and they were playing. I don't even know what song. I probably could find it if you gave me a day or two to run through the records. But like it was like their first song. I walked up, and Matt Freeman just like strolled up to the front of the stage and just like, and I was like, done. I'm out. I've seen it, and like that's really all I wanted.
Oh, he is sick live, dude. It's so sick, and he's singing while he's playing it and everything.
And you're just like, I mean, like it was like to me like the definition of cool, because he just like just sunglasses. Just like just strolls up to the front of the stage, knows everyone's like yes, and he's just like one of those like crazy runs and
Maxwell Murder or something like that. Probably is what he was doing.
What it was.
Journey to...
and he's just like this shit-eating grin, just like yeah, I know, and it was just it was perfect. I was like, I don't want to like sully the rest of that, just in case like they're not good. And I just like walked away.
I'm like one of those guys like with big bands. I don't see them that often because I don't like going to big shows.
Yeah,
to be perfectly honest, I'm not like a. I was talking about this not too long ago about Riot Fest. Like, I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
But it's just not my thing, dude.
Yeah, no.
I actually preferred it when they just brought a bunch of bands into town and they played at little venues.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
that was...
We all get spoiled being in the little room. Like, you know, like you had, was Pharaohs?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like we had the fireside, like,
Yep.
you know, it's just like there's something about being in a small room with too many people, and like there's something that like that happens.
Yeah.
That,
Well, I've seen Off With Their Heads 2 or 3 times now.
yeah.
No, more than that. 4 times now I've seen Off With Their Heads. The 2 best ones were at Liars Club just recently, and then I saw him play at Exit.
Yeah.
At like a Riot Fest after party, I think they played upstairs at Exit with like some PA system somebody obviously just dragged in. It was like some Fender, you know, like $400 deal. You go and buy a Guitar Center. Awesome.
Yeah.
Like those 2 shows to me were
like,
so much more visceral because I think, you know, I saw him at what's the one around the corner from here? Bottom Lounge.
Yeah.
Bottom Lounge. Like it was okay, but it was. It didn't have the same energy to it to me.
There's something about being like either eye to eye with a band or just barely elevated. That's just like the perfect size. Like I always said, like the stage at Fireside was the perfect height because it was my friend Adam a long time ago when he was just I think when I was like 16 or something, like he described the Fireside stage with perfect height because it was perfect ball slugging height because you could just like walk up and punch so many of the balls if you wanted to. He's like, I'm not gonna, and he's like, I'm never gonna do that. But you know, but it was like, but it puts an image in your head, and you're like, yeah, that's right, that's exactly right. And since I fucking lived at the Fireside for so many years, like that, it just burns into your brain of like, this is the, like when you're in a setting that's the same way. It could be a totally different room, but you're like, it feels right, and you're like, this is right. Like that little tiny stage in the back of Liars Club is like,
I love it, dude.
It's just raised enough where like you can see the heads of people, and you know, if not, you're standing in front and getting knocked down and watching the band right there.
Yep.
But yeah, it's perfect.
And it's like a punk rock venue. Like if you're going to see a punk band, like that's a great atmosphere to see.
Yeah, there's a little bit of danger in it. You could fall over and cut yourself. And,
exactly.
And I don't want to get cut by something at Liars Club. Like, so I mean, you know, like there's a little element of danger. You know, like at the Fireside, it was like every now and then, like Brian Peterson would walk up to me and like I'd be like leaning against the wall. He'd just like pull me away from the wall. He's like, "Don't ever lean on the walls." And I was like, "Why?" And he's like, "Cockroaches."
Oh.
Yeah, don't do it. Yeah. He's like, "I'll never lean on the walls here." I was like, "I've learned an important lesson." You know, or like you go to the Mutiny, like same deal. Like, whew, yes. Exactly.
That's a trip.
Yeah.
That's a trip.
Everyone has the Mutiny story in the city. If you're 21 and over and you've been to the Mutiny, you have a story about being in the Mutiny.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, I mean,
I have far more than I care to.
We had the ability to do, you know, because we got the record coming out, and I was like, we're trying not to play Chicago a lot because we can actually like go on the road now.
Yeah.
So we're trying not to play the city too much, but the CDs should be ready. Essentially, we're hoping. By the end of July, so you know we're like, all right, we're gonna book a show late July, and you know I've got decent enough relationships around town. I can get a show at quite a few venues, but I was like, dude, you know, we've only done Liars Club once in the past as the old band, you know, new band. I don't think we've done it yet, and I was like, dude, let's ask Gary at Liars Club if we can do it, and he was all for it, and so we're gonna do it there, and you know. I'm looking forward to it, man. I mean, that's like it is like you said. It's like back to the old, like little bit of danger.
Yeah.
A little bit of just that vibe.
Yeah, it's like that. Like it's dark and loud. And like. Yeah. And
it's in a kind of weird intersection.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's like you could die here. It would be days before someone found you.
It's next to the public storage. Somebody's just going to stick you in a storage unit overnight.
Exactly. Yeah. There is something attractive about that whole possibility. Yeah. It's like going, but I also like going to Bottom Lounge just the same way. Like. A little bit of danger going there. No, that's awesome though. Yeah, I mean, Liars Club, like I don't go there a lot just because it's in the middle of nowhere and I don't have a car.
Yeah.
So like for me to go, it's like I have to take a cab home. It's gonna be a late night.
Yeah, I mean, now that I'm close to that neighborhood, it's easy for me to get there and back. So I spend a little bit too much time there, but I spend more time at Cobra now because of this, because we're like
'cause you're
2 blocks away.
But I mean, Herb is awesome. Like Skinny Mike bartends there, and they're awesome people. They're there. It's just I'm too far away and kind of a curmudgeon old man. I'm like, it's too loud. I'm just gonna go see Pegboy when they play there. Be a grumpy old man. Like I catch myself every now and then. I pull that shit. But I mean, it's a fun place to play. So it's sort of like why wouldn't we do it there? Just get all our friends come there, and it doesn't matter. Like if you sell anything, you're like. You're gonna have like a crazy show. Yeah. So because I don't think I've ever seen a band play there that wasn't something kind of crazy about it. Yeah. Just that room just sets people off a little bit, and So
I've seen some really good shows there, man. I saw Pegboy there. For the first time ever. Yeah. At that. What was it? It was a Riot Fest after party too, right? Yeah. That they did, and I saw that.
I haven't seen them in a while, but. When they play there, it's awesome because it's like Larry will just hand you the microphone.
It was chaos.
It's insane. Like when they play there, I was able to see, this is probably going back 3-4 years or more. I lose track of time easily, but they played a couple shows with Steve Sailors, their original bass player, and they played a show there with him, and it was like righteous, just because it was like everyone was sort of like, whoa, this is kind of amazing. Cause it's just like he just played the bass, he played the bass lines from the record, and where it wasn't like what Pierre was playing, like more of like his like root note, Pierre style, and so for years you got used to like. Not realizing that your brain was putting in the bass lines and that weren't being played live. So it was just like crazy to like watch Steve be like, just this monster playing bass. And it was just like, just all over the bass. And you're like, and he kind of like, it made me grow a greater appreciation for Pegboy. And I already love Pegboy. Put out that damn tribute record. So like, I have quite an affinity for that band. So it was just like, it was really awesome to see that, and then the fact that you're like at Liars Clubs, it's like someone's knocking you into the bass player. It's like okay, so that place is awesome. So I wish I lived closer, just because they end up having so many good shows, and you're like.
Lately, it's been more too. Lately, now that Cobra's picked up again, it's like I find most of the shows I want to go to are at Cobra or Liars. Yeah, for the most part,
because they're the right size.
Like Mustard Plug is tonight.
Yeah, I know. So. Yeah, I need to call Dave back. But, but like they're like the right size rooms. Like that's how I look at it. Like ultimately, that's the size of the room I want to be in. Like I think the stage at Cobra is a little weird.
It's a little high. It's kind of low for the
size of the room. Yeah, but the room itself in size is about right. Like and like that's another one. Like it's kind of a little bit of a chore to get there to go to a show there. But when you do go, you're like, this is right. It's the right size room, and so it's the environment you want to be in to see a show. Yeah. So and the rooms that are like that, be it Beat Kitchen or like if you're on the floor at Subterranean, like those are the size of rooms and like the atmosphere you want to be in. So so those are the shows I end up going to more often than not. It's just the rooms that are like the size.
I think I mostly see you at Township.
Yeah, Township. Perfect example.
So,
like
or Ponchos, as it used to be called.
Yeah. I still. Last year when we did the anniversary show, actually on stage I just called it Ponchos, and someone was like, Township! I was like, that's why I'm a behind the scenes guy.
We played there when Poncho himself was there.
Did he get on stage with you?
Yes, and he played saxophone. He grabbed a saxophone.
I never got to see the saxophone.
Oh, it was hilarious. I am just looking over like, what the fuck is going on?
I only saw
that, dude. I don't know how that works, but
I saw him come up with like one of those like brush sticks or like whatever the percussion things. And I saw him do that a couple times, but I never saw him. I saw the sax there, but I never saw him get on stage and like try to jam with the band.
He was all out, dude.
Yeah, he's awesome. Like I miss Punch. Yeah. My girlfriend wants him to come over and make her a mojito. I love that room. I mean I'm really excited that Brian bought that place because it's like cool. Like you have a stable venue because you own it now. Like you don't have some flaky owner that's gonna ditch you after a while. And I've just known Brian for so long, and I worked for Brian for a while, and just being one of the kids that they like at Fireside, I became like one of the people they entrusted to leave the door money with. Mm-hmm. You know, so you're like, that's when you knew you'd made it. So you're like, yes. You know, so I've known Brian for
I'm in
a fucking long time, and so it's like it's like all these years, it's like, oh, he's not doing shows there anymore. Not doing shows there anymore. It's like, why? It's like, oh, okay, all right, yeah, on to the next venue. Yeah. And then it's like Ronnie's total shithole. Like, oh, good, it went out of business. Fine. Like, where are we gonna do shows now? Like, let's play pawn shows. It's like, oh, okay, another venue. Let's go. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is actually kind of nice. And now that it's township, I think it's even better. Yeah. Like those rooms, like there's that couple hundred capacity. It's like, you get a good show and it's just sold out, and it's just like. Awesome! This is too many people, but it's perfect. Yeah. So and that's what you chase, sort of. Like you find those rooms and you gravitate towards those. So.
Absolutely. Well, thanks a lot, man.
Yeah.
For coming by and doing this.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me ramble on about venues that most people listening probably won't know what we're talking about.
Dude, who knows?
But thanks for having me.
Cool, man. Awesome. All right. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. Bands, keep sending me your music. I really appreciate all the bands that have sent their music in so far. We're getting some plays on the Bandcamp page, so people are listening to the stuff. I really dig that and enjoy it. Also, you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes now. We got that approved pretty quickly. You can get that on your phone. A lot of different ways that you can listen. I also put this up on SoundCloud now, so if you're a SoundCloud user, you can listen to the podcast in SoundCloud, throw some comments up there. Also, follow me on Twitter. As I'm stacking up more of these episodes, I'll be starting, hopefully, to announce in advance who's going to be on the episode, maybe, let's say, a week ahead of time. So that'll give you some time to send me some questions to ask whoever happens to come in. I think we're going to have some people come in the next few weeks that, hopefully we'll have some of the first times that people actually play a little music on the show, which I'm really looking forward to. So thanks a lot, everybody.